Good evening and welcome to NTV Weekend Edition. My name is Olive Burrows. The number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in Kenya now stand at 1,192 with 31 new cases confirmed by President Uhuru Kenyatta this morning. Now, this is the curve of the Kenya situation as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. We've been told time and again the reason you were staying home was to flatten the curve. But President Uhuru Kenyatta acknowledged that we can no longer afford to stay home as our economy plummets. Now, as you can see, the red represents the number of confirmed cases steadily rising, but thankfully no sharp spikes. What is fluctuating is the number of tests, with the highest number of tests, that is 3,102, having been conducted on Thursday. Well, that's the curve. Now, let's take a look at the global numbers as has become our custom. The total number of persons infected with COVID-19 globally stands at 5,367,394. The number of total deaths globally stands at 342,192. The number of total recoveries stands at 2,189,287. In Africa, the total number of persons who have tested positive stands at 107,365. The total number of deaths stand at 3,248, and the total number of recoveries stands at 43,781. Finally, in the US, 1,654,529 have tested positive for the virus. The total deaths stand at 97,998, and the total number of recoveries in the US stands at 404,283. Now let's take a look at what else we have lined up for you on NTV Weekend Edition. Tonight, Kenya's resource tank is running on empty and something's got to give.
Hatuwezi kuendelea kusema Wakenya tukae nyumbani. Hatuwezi kuendelea kusema tu Wakenya musiende biasharani zenu, musiende makazi, musiende namna hiyo.
The government's dilemma as President Kenyatta unveils 8-point stimulus plan. Plus, lest you forget, this is Kenya, a cartel country.
What we have discovered over time is that we lost almost half of these resources.
Your tragedy is their trophy. Your bad fortune is good for their blood fortunes. Also tonight, he wooed her, got her pregnant, and then
akanambia kwa sasa mimi sitaki mgogoro na wazazi wako, kwa hiyo nenda utoe ujauzito.
She's only a young teenager and he is walking free. And
mwezi umeonekana sehemu tofauti hapa nchini Kenya.
Muslims to break their fast tomorrow in a prayer and fasting season like no other.
Kila mmoja anaswali kwa nyumba yake.
This is Weekend Edition with Olive Burrows.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has admitted that the continued curfew and cessation of movement measures are unsustainable to the country's economy. The dilemma the government faces is that of, on one hand, opening up the country to the old normal and thereby risk the further spread of the vicious repercussions of the same. On the other hand, it can keep implementing the measures and expose people to hunger, suffering, and even death. As the government weighs its options, the president has called on Kenyans to be disciplined so as to ensure the future is secure.
They walk to work, a journey that has become more difficult for some, less frequent for others, and non-existent for yet another group of Kenyans. The ordinarily busy streets whose heartbeats pound late into the night and some even into daybreak have been silenced. The day has broken into a new unfamiliar dawn. The measures put in place to contain COVID-19 have silenced the tunes of many activities and by extension, the shuffles of exchanges of money. Businesses have been plunged into dark times, lined with echoing pockets. President Uhuru Kenyatta says the ongoing curfew and movement restrictions are increasingly unsustainable.
Sisi kama serikali zingine, mataifa yote duniani imeanza kuona. Hatuwezi kuendelea kusema Wakenya tukae nyumbani. Hatuwezi kuendelea kusema tu Wakenya musiende biasharani zenu, musiende makazi, musiende namna hiyo.
The stinging reality is leaving the government in a tight position as it has to manage the disease and the access to basics. President Kenyatta is, however, urging for personal responsibility in light of the magnitude of the pandemic.
Wakati umefika na nimeambia mawaziri wetu na haswa maofisa wetu wa afya waanze kuambia Wakenya, waanze kuwaeleza Wakenya ya kwamba hatuwezi kuendelea na lockdown, hatuwezi kuendelea maisha na curfew. Na tukifungua hii ugonjwa ukianza kuenea, Wakenya lazima mjue ya kwamba itaenea kwa sababu sisi wenyewe, mimi Uhuru, Matiang'i, wewe na ule mwingine, hatujatimiza yale masharti ambayo tumepatiwa.
These concerns are on the backdrop of Kenya having cumulatively confirmed 1,192 people who have tested positive for COVID-19 after 31 more people were confirmed today. The death toll still stands at 50. Alongside the nationwide 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, cessation of movement into and out of the counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi and Mandera was extended to 6th June. Same case applies in Eastleigh Town in Nairobi and Old Town in Mombasa, a situation that has raised concerns in the affected areas. To keep the infection at bay, people are to stay away from their workplaces. To make their daily bread, they need to go out and work. Many vulnerable Kenyans fear that either COVID-19 or hunger will be their undoing. The balancing act here appears to be a tough one that will ensure that neither of the unfortunate cases come to pass. Vincent Odur, NTV, Nairobi.
And that report by Vincent Odoro kicks off NTV Weekend Edition. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Flora Atino. President Uhuru Kenyatta has raised concern over the systems in government that seem to be hemorrhaging taxpayers' money through a faceless, insatiable monster referred to as the cartels. On a weekly basis, 250 million shillings has, according to the president, been sent to vulnerable families to cushion them from the tough economic times. This method was advised by the fact that money was in the past lost to brokers who failed to extend the relief to where it is intended. This is of concern as the management of national resources may be in question even now for what appears to be a lack of accountability.
It is sickening to think that someone would even think of taking advantage of the COVID-19 situation to benefit themselves. Even more revolting that there are people with ties to the Ministry of Health dealing in fake tenders in the name of fighting the pandemic. Early Friday, Mercy Wanjiko Wahiga, also known as Linda Masaka, was arraigned in court for cheating a businessman of goods worth 37.5 million shillings by making false documents fronted as tenders from the Ministry of Health. The suspect is said to be working with officials at the Ministry of Health, who the aggrieved party is seeking their arrests. The goods supplied were personal protective gear and other medical gadgets, including 20,000 cartons of hand gloves worth 19 million shillings and 1,000 infrared thermometers worth 18.5 million shillings. The suspect, Mercy Wahiga, was released on a 200,000 shillings cash bail with one guarantor or a depository bond of 300,000 shillings plus a surety of the same amount. These and other such deals are according to reliable sources being conducted by former Ministry of Health supply chain officials recently transferred from the ministry by Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe for having taken part. The integrity of the personal protective gear was raised by Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe yesterday, which goes to show the danger of the hands-off approach by government, an approach that may be responsible for the contagion that continues to grow in the country.
It is just thanks to God that our doctors have not been falling sick. Some of these imported PPEs have been really below standards.
The frustration of the greed in government circles was expressed by the president, which he says informed the change of strategy in providing relief to vulnerable families during the COVID-19 pandemic.
My administration has been dispatching a total of 250 million shillings to vulnerable families. In the past, if a family couldn't feed itself because of floods, famine, or other such natural calamities, we rushed previously to give them food aid. But unfortunately, with this method, what we have discovered over time is that we lost almost half of these resources.
Though the new strategy of sending money directly to vulnerable families is a money saver, the criteria used has been questioned. The government has to battle with the already low trust levels when it comes to handling resources, as well as the integrity of the lists, where some families may be listed more than once or ghost families are listed. 250 million shillings a week will translate to 125,000 households receiving 2,000 shillings each. Laudable as that may be, the reality is that this aid is reaching 1% of the 12.2 million households in Kenya, going by the 2019 National Housing and Population Census. That's not all in terms of some privileged Kenyans helping themselves to aid meant for the poor. A recent report further claims that Kenya's elite siphoned 328 billion shillings of World Bank aid, stashing it in offshore accounts in the last 2 decades. This report is yet to be addressed and explained by government. The NGO Coordination Board and Treasury have remained mum on the issue, which means that the problem may be deep-rooted. The coronavirus pandemic has stolen livelihoods and lives from thousands of homes as millions try to save whatever they can. Meanwhile, the cancer of corruption through some agents is eating away at the little that is left. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has unveiled a 54 billion shillings post-COVID-19 economic stimulus package aimed at jump-starting the economy from the present slump. According to the president, these funds will target relief measures in the agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, health and education sectors. The tourism sector will be one of the main beneficiaries of the 54 billion shillings package, with at least 4 billion shillings designated for initiating relief measures targeted at the sector, which has taken a severe beating from the adverse effects of COVID-19.
Accounting for the lion's share of the economy at 34% of Kenya's gross domestic product, agriculture is set to receive one of the largest allocations in the post-COVID-19 economic stimulus package, with 3 billion shillings set aside for facilitating smallholder farmers' access to farm inputs. Still on the agriculture sector, and in a bid to provide a buffer for the horticulture subsector, which has been adversely affected by disrupted access to the global market, 1.5 billion shillings has been set aside for players in the subsector. Also taking up a significant portion of the 53.7 billion shillings kitty is the allocation to rehabilitate infrastructure through hiring personnel for manual works to be undertaken in the process.
I'm sure you're all aware of the damage that has been caused to our infrastructure as a result of the ongoing rains. To address this challenge in the short term, as a government, we intend to rehabilitate damaged access roads, footbridges, and other public infrastructure. We have set aside a total of 5 billion Kenya shillings to hire local labor, our local young men and women across the country, to engage in this undertaking.
The tourism sector, which has taken a significant hit from the spillovers of the COVID-19 pandemic owing to the halting of passenger flights, has also been earmarked to benefit from the stimulus package. 2 billion shillings has been set aside to avail soft loans to businesses in the sector, with another 1 billion shillings designated for hiring 5,500 community scouts under the Kenya Wildlife Services. The government has also set aside 1 billion shillings targeting engagements with community conservancies with a view to sustaining jobs. Players in the micro, small and medium-sized businesses are also on the government's radar, with the segment accounting for over 80% of all formal employment in Kenya. The government says it will put in place measures to grant them relief in these adverse conditions.
we will inject a further Kenya shillings 3 billion as seed capital for the SME Credit Guarantee Scheme. The intention here being to provide affordable credit to our small and micro enterprises.
And as the heavy downpour continues pounding across the country, the government has designated 1 billion shillings for flood control measures, with another 850 million shillings set aside for rehabilitation of wells and water ponds, as well as another 540 million shillings designated for the Greening Kenya campaign. Julians Amboko, NTV.
As the country fights to contain the spread of COVID-19, there is a family that is battling to save the life of their mother. Maurice Juma's family has had it rough between juggling on how to survive and at the same time manage the condition of their mother, who has stage 4 cervical cancer. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
The government has raised the alarm over the Kibra constituency with concern of the spread of the coronavirus. But for Maurice Juma, he is staring at a more immediate threat, the life of his wife. Consolata was diagnosed with cancer of the cervix 3 years ago. He has been her sole caregiver. Her state deteriorated 5 months ago, leaving her bedridden.
Nimaliza miaka 1 na nusu kama sijaona damu. Sasa damu kirudi inaanza kubleed nyingi sana. Nikaenda Nazareth. Wakanipeleka operation. Wakatoa mfu nyumba ya mtoto.
The cancer treatment has not only eaten her way at her body, but their finances too.
Sasa nilienda Kenyatta, nikachomwa, nikapiga picha, walinipeleka kwa radiotherapy na chemotherapy. Sasa ameanza kidonda kwa tumbo. Imeanza tu kidogo. Ikaanza kutoa usa na maji. Sasa saa hii inatoka tu damu nyingi. Hapo pale nilipasiliwa kwa tumbo. Sasa wanataka 2 milioni. Sasa mimi nimeshindwa. Nilikuwa na ng'ombe nyumbani kidogo. Nimeuza samba. Nimeuza kila kitu. Saa ingine damu inaisha yote. Damu kimwagika yote, inamwagika yote. Sasa nikisimama naanguka.
Maurice was initially able to support her treatment with earnings from work at a construction site. But then came the coronavirus and the shutdown of the development in March. If they had the resource or support, they would have sought medical help, but
hata sina vile naweza kwenda hospitali saa hii. Hata saa hii hata kuna painkiller na meza. Sina hata pesa ya kununua. Nimekaa tu hivi.
Inabidi hata wakati napoumwa hivyo, inabidi nitafute dawa ya kumpaisia uchungu. Siwezi kumwangalia tu hivyo juu sasa siku yake ya kwenda kuona daktari hajafika.
With an ailing wife in need of urgent medical attention, 3 months out of a job, and 6 children expecting dad to feed them, Maurice Juma can only hope for help to bear a burden far heavier than 1 month's share. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
News that a resolution was arrived at for truck drivers to cross either side of the border between Tanzania and Kenya was hopefully going to ease things, but it's not all smooth sailing, if you may, across the borders. Truck drivers have complained of being forced to wait for over 3 days for their test results. They also express their concern over the hostility they face from the public.
The coast is not clear, at least not for these truck drivers in Mombasa, who vow to stay put if they keep facing the complications they've had to put up with at border points. Despite having all the required documents at each border point as a sign of a clean bill of health, drivers say they have to undergo testing, results taking more than 48 hours to be released, and even if negative, they are treated as positive.
If you go to the shop, you find the owner is chasing you away. You have a corona. Don't enter here.
Long-distance truckers have been identified as a group more likely to contract and spread the coronavirus, given their access and movement as essential service providers.
Don't have a toilet. We don't have a water. We don't have a food. You have money, a little money for using, but no shop. So I'm eating, but after eating, problem will come.
The security in that of their goods has been compromised.
Driver lali kwa sababu wapolala wanaibwa. Sasa kuna magari imeibiwa mafuta hapa na mabetri.
A decision by the Ugandan government to stop them at the entry point and make them hand over trucks to the Ugandan drivers is now non-negotiable. If anything is going to move, the drivers say it will first have to be the barriers that they have encountered.
Hiyo kitu ya kupima pua inaumiza mpaka huku. Ndio mtu atoe kamazi, alafu inatingishwa namna hii na kama straw.
If I'm going to continue to sleep here, my truck, I'm going to put in the road across. I don't care about that.
Mark Masai, NTV.
The death toll from a road accident along the Nakuru-Kericho highway has risen to 6. 11 others were seriously injured. A truck transporting liquor is said to have rammed into 6 cars, including 2 passenger vehicles that were parked along the road. Passengers who were in the public transport vehicles are said to have pulled over to be screened for COVID-19. The injured are being treated at Londiani and Kericho hospitals, while the 6 bodies were taken to Kericho Referral Hospital mortuary.
We had 5 fatalities and 12 injuries. All those who got injured were taken to Londiani Sub-County Hospital and Kericho Hospital for treatment. So far, we have secured the road and all the trucks involved and the motor vehicles are being towed to the police station, awaiting the inspection of motor vehicle to give us an expert advice on whether it is true that it failed or it was the negligence of the driver.
A 13-year-old girl from Kisauni in Mombasa County is counting weeks to becoming a mother. Not by choice, of course. She was defiled by a man close to her family. At an age she's meant to be thinking of her high school education, she's preparing for parenthood. NTV's Coast reporter Kevin Mutai also tells us that according to a teacher in the area, there are a number of other similar cases and no action has been taken.
Our search for the girl brought us to this village in Bombo, Kisauni constituency, where we found her running her daily chores, heavy with a child. This 13-year-old girl is 34 weeks pregnant by a man who lives in the neighborhood and is well known to the family. Given the trust he gained over time, he managed to lure her into his trap, dementedly manipulating her into thinking of his acts of love. It started in September last year.
Aliniambia ananipenda na wala hakuna msichana yote mwenye uko naye, msichana mwenye atakuwa naye ni mimi peke yangu.
He fed his barbaric appetite every time she would go fetch water close to his house, but things changed when she realized that she was expectant.
Tukawa tumefunga shule, nikadam kumwambia mimi sijisi vizuri, ni kama kuna ujauzito. Akanambia kwa sasa mimi sitaki mgogoro na wazazi wako, kwa hiyo nenda utoe ujauzito. Sikutaka kwenda utoa wala sikutaka kumwambia wazazi wangu. Kwa sababu ningeambia wazazi wangu mimi au mamangu hatungekuwa tuko hapa.
Girls her age would normally be faced with other changes in her body, not the type that she would undergo.
Sasa nikachukua mafuta na kumrangaranga hiyo tumbo, nikaona kitu kimesimama kwa tumbo. Sasa nikajiuliza, mwanangu, kila ambacho nakuuliza wewe unasema uko sawa, hii iko sawa kweli?
The accused man walks scot-free without a care.
Jana akanambia wewe tunaweza achana kwa sababu sasa sioni ada kwa na wewe tena.
The day he was arrested, whatever he said was not even fair, because he was telling us you have arrested me, but I'm telling you I will be out within 2 days. And true, they are out.
Her father, understandably feeling infuriated but helpless.
Ameniweka hali ya shida, ule kijana ni jirani tu. Kwa sasa ninaomba pia usalama baina mimi na yeye, tutaishi vipi? Ambapo sasa akitoka tunaonana. Najua roho ya uzazi ni ngumu.
This girl, confused at what to do, decided to apologize for something she is not responsible for at all. Her letter reads in part, "Dear Dad," and I quote, "I ask for forgiveness, my parents, and your blessing to be able to continue with my studies, which I promise to focus on."
Sasa nimepata pigo kubwa sana kwa sababu sasa sijui kama tanzia wapi. Sasa kila siku sasa mimi lazima sitafute pesa mtoto sasa apelekwe kliniki.
According to a teacher at Utange Primary School in Kisauni, defilement cases have been on the rise, especially now that children have been home for more than 2 months because of the coronavirus pandemic.
I have about 10. Yeah, some are already in courts and some are yet to go to courts.
This is confirmed by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 that recently issued a report indicating that early marriages have increased due to the abrupt closure of learning institutions and that incidents of gender-based violence have increased since the commencement of the enforcement of the measures to contain the spread of COVID-19. If at all this letter by this child to her father can be taken on behalf of the children around the country, may she also get the justice, support and protection she and all the children deserve. Signed, a girl just getting into her teens but forced into motherhood. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
I'm aware that the weight of that report hangs heavy in the air, but as we take a break, we may be in the stay-at-home COVID-19 season. But that won't stop some children in Kibra from amusing themselves. Enjoy.
The risk of illness-causing germs is increasing. It is believed that the coronavirus can remain on surfaces in your home for up to 9 days. Touching infected surfaces is one of the ways in which germs spread. Regularly disinfect your floors, countertops, and kitchen surfaces with bleach. And use an effective toilet cleaner inside and outside your toilet bowl. This message is brought to you by Medifacts, Jig, and Harpic.
Birthday party!
Birthday party! Birthday party! Birthday party! Are we not invited? We have gifts! Malaria!
Mommy! Pests!
Rat!
Oh, die!
Party!
Compared to laundry spray, Mortein Doom Power Guard kills disease-causing pests instantly. Mortein Doom Power Guard.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile?
All that in one toothpaste?
Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing, and then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap that gives the best germ protection ever against many illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Shop online and pay with your Visa card securely for groceries and other essentials, e-learning subscriptions, online entertainment subscriptions, as well as all other bills online. With Visa, you can make payments online using your Visa card in 3 easy steps. Simply go to the checkout page, select Visa card, enter your card information, and your purchase is securely completed. Safe is smart. Visa, everywhere you want to be. Terms and conditions apply.
John suffers from indigestion. His twin James suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Disinfect and protect your home with Jik. Jik kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs. Disinfect floors, kitchen and bathroom surfaces, and wash white clothes, towels, and dishcloths with Jik bleach. Just Jik it.
Those that are born with club foot, which is a congenital deformity, face immense stigma due to misinformation for a condition that can actually be corrected. Now, children born with this condition are ostracized, labeled bad omens, or products of witchcraft.
Growing up with clubfoot has been very tough. I never used to remove my shoes at all.
We shed light on this condition and of course bust some of those myths and also understand how you can correct this condition.
Thank you for staying with NTV Weekend Edition. Muslims in Kenya are set to celebrate Eid tomorrow to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan. This follows an announcement by the Chief Qadi Ahmed Maudhar, and a section of Muslims already started observing Eid today, it being a historic one without family and faithful gathering given the COVID-19 restrictions. One family was kind enough to host Fatma Bugu, who now reports.
A huge spike in coronavirus cases in Kenya has led many to celebrate in different ways. This is Mnarani area, Kilifi County, where we met with Hassan Mahmoud's family. Unlike other Eid celebrations, he has been forced to pray at home.
Kila mmoja anaswali kwa nyumba yake. Eid iliyotangulia ilikuwa tuna utaratibu wa kutembeleana familia, lakini kwa sababu ya hili janga la corona, basi kila mmoja amejaribu kujihifadhi kwa nyumba yake ili asiwezi kusambaza haya matatizo au hili janga maradhi kwa wengine.
In Garissa, Muslims prayed together while observing the social distance rule. Parks and beaches have remained closed, effectively upending a local tradition of gathering in public places. In these extraordinary times, Islamic leaders have urged people to stay indoors and avoid public gathering during Eid celebrations.
Watu wote waswali majumbani kwao Idi, na kuna ile sehemu ambayo ni umuhimu ya watu kutembeleana ambayo tunaita kupeana mkono wa Idi. Safari hii iondoshwe hiyo.
Amri ya kutokutana kwa wingi kwenye msikiti ama kwenye kiwanja bado ipo. Kwa hivyo hakuna namna tunaweza kuswali kesho kama vile tulivyokuwa tukiswali miaka ya nyuma.
So much for the public holiday that was declared for Monday. But in any case, happy Eid al-Fitr with the prayer that this too shall pass, inshallah. Fatma Bugu, NTV, Mombasa County.
That's right. As Fatma put it, we say Happy Eid to all those celebrating it despite the restrictions. The unceremonious ouster of Professor Kithure Kindiki no doubt exposed the dark underbelly of Kenyan politics. The international law expert's exit was a low blow to the Senate, which prides itself as an upper house and independent arm of government. As Ken Mijungu reports, Kindiki seemed to have seen this coming, but believed he would escape the embarrassment, and those who took to the floor attempted to cushion his fall without much success.
The biblical Judas Iscariot will have learnt a thing or two from the level of betrayal that was witnessed at the floor of the Senate yesterday. When the debate began, the line was drawn. You are either with them or not. A motion of its kind and a possible defining moment that could have cemented its independence, but the Senate caved under the strong influence of the executive and party leaders who have perfected the art of the carrot and the stick.
We must be allowed to give confidence and to withdraw confidence to those who don't follow the party lines.
And it is because most of you cannot look at yourselves in the mirror, and that is why you do not want to have any reasons as you remove this very competent man. You just are carrying brief, and that's okay.
For a party motion tabled by the party whip, it was curiously seconded by a rival legislator whose role would soon be revealed in his short speech, a lesson to the leadership of the House that the positions are given and can be taken through the device of the party. This was about towing the party and the Supremo's line.
This is not about anything Speaker Kindiki has done on his chair. The same way we appointed Speaker Kindiki without reason is the same way he can be removed or not removed without reason. So
once that trust is done, Mr. Speaker, there is nothing this House can do to a person who has lost trust of his political party.
But knowing it was a tall order selling it to Kenyans, reasons had to be given, cooked and justified. In fact, the majority whip almost lost the plot, and he had to be brought back to reality of what the battle was about.
And that's why I'm telling Senator Kangata, the more you talk, the more you're giving more common things to talk about.
As the debate progressed, it became clear merit and service delivery are secondary to loyalty. Kindiki was a victim of his doing. And no matter how good you are, without homage, it ain't good enough.
Professor Kindiki, having served as the majority leader of then TNA and URB, and now as the deputy speaker of this House, has done very well.
In the end, what matters is that you arrived at your desired goal and position, and both friend and foe, ally and the alienated, we reckon you are fan in their flame. Keep going.
For the Jubilee Party, it has become hard to tell apart the leader from the party itself. In June last year, the party leader tore into party rebels during an address to the Akorino National Convention at Kasarani Sports Complex in the presence of his deputy, William Ruto, accusing them of taking him for granted. This is why, slighted by the three rebels from the Senate and compounded by the growing tension between the top party leadership, the party leader took action, and not even numbers, democracy or meritocracy could save them. The party's way, or is it the party leader's way, or the highway?
The President has been very patient, and the party has been very patient. But we've reached a point that we cannot take any more indiscipline in the party.
Ken Mijungu, NTV.
What do you think? Should there be democracy within parties, or should all party members be required to toe the line? Share your thoughts using the @NTV Kenya hashtag. And with that, we take a break. But when we come back, we tell you the story of people who thought they were buying into dream homes, but those dream homes have turned into nightmares.
Can you tell Kenyanju to come to my office immediately? Good morning. Good morning. Mimi sipendi unapanguza floor. Hiyo dust uache hapa kwa meza. Clean up. Kenyanju, this is a problem, eh? Next time uende ununue selector yako, utengeneze sandwich zako, uachane na sandwich za boss.
Selector. The difference is in the taste.
Hii uende weke kwa ile githeri yako, eh?
Welcome to the conferencing service.
Emma, carry on, Ken.
First quarter sales, they're up 90%.
Very good, very good.
We are looking at a 55 billion shilling profit by the end of the financial year.
Now we are talking. Here we talk billions. Very good. I gotta go. Wacha niendelee na kazi.
A person has left the conference.
Niko nyumbani. Downloads are very fast. Streaming, eco. And I'm just working from here. Stay connected and work from the convenience of wherever you are. Fiber to the home.
Working from home? No problem. Fiber Home has you covered with the fastest and most reliable internet speeds. Get connected today. Kazi lazima iendelee.
Selena!
Toto, where's mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X. Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you.
Wow!
Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
Melissa?
Mom, it's Dad's birthday today. I'm giving him a party just like he gives me.
Nothing makes a mother more proud than seeing her child growing up. But I know that as she learns to care for others, she'll face even more germs and the risk of illnesses.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Just 1 cup of Dettol protects your home and family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
By the way, nilikuwa nafikiria ni mboch. Kidogo unasikia ati pia dem anataka kuimba. Dem gani? Huyo yuko hapo anaosha vyombo. Kumbe.
Ani alikuwa tu ana bring the house down yani all the time.
Like she's half naked on TV.
The things that your sister is doing is demonic. Akani block kila mahali na akachange namba yake ya simu.
Alikuwa na a presence, alikuwa na an aura of kupendwa. Sijaona mtu akiwalk away from pesa hivyo.
Wewe uko hospitali, hauwezi toka, huwezi enda kumzika. Imagine mamako anazikwa, mama yako anazikwa. Huwezi enda kumzika.
She never lost faith in God. And that's a big thing that kept her going.
She's a miracle.
I was thinking today, I'm going to stick with the empty tomb, and I want to make a big deal out of that. And I know for most of us evangelical Christians, we are very familiar and very comfortable with the space of the cross and the death of Christ. But we don't think too much about the resurrection. And yet, if Christ had died and remained dead, there would be nothing for us to celebrate.
Nitakungoja.
Thank you for staying with NTV Weekend Edition. And now we cross over to news coming out of Marsabit County. And there are now 17 new cholera patients registered in Ilret. The plight of these patients faced with an epidemic seems to be forgotten or ignored as the government focuses on the COVID-19 pandemic. The Marsabit Health Authority, however, maintains that things are not as bad as they have been made out to be. Our correspondent, Mamo Ali, gives us the true picture.
This is the picture of cholera outbreak in Ileret village since April. It is now an epidemic with 300 people affected and local health workers confirming over 20 fatalities. Not quite what the Ministry of Health is reporting.
It is unfortunate that we have also lost
a total of 13 Kenyans from this cholera outbreak.
12 of those registered to have come from Marsabit, but the county health minister, Dr. Jama Wolde, has a very different view.
Hatuwezi kutangaza ile imetokea kwa Manyata, hiyo haiko kwa jurisdiction yetu. Na mpaka saa hii mimi nasema na nasisitiza ya kwamba ile vifo tulishuhudia ni wawili peke yake.
Funny that the Minister of Health claims to have gotten the readings of the cholera outbreak from the county health team.
And so we do stand by our figures, and these figures are factually corrected in collaboration with county government and national government, and they do represent cumulative figures in terms of our surveillance for cholera.
Dr. Jama Wolde stands by his diagnosis.
We have not seen that patient, we have not diagnosed, so how can we say ni cholera? That is why we cannot say. Lakini wale wako kwa facility yetu, tumewapima, sasa wale wamekufa nje. Tunaweza kusema hivyo?
Either the Marsabit health executive is living in denial or in a different reality, or the Ministry of Health doesn't know the real state of the health, but the cholera crisis threatens to wipe out the population of fishing communities in Ileret. At least 23 people have died from the cholera outbreak as it spreads into southern Omo region in Ethiopia. At least 200 Kenyans were forced to seek treatment into neighboring Ethiopia despite a cessation of movement directive. The county government has, however, admitted to have failed to control the outbreak despite early warnings by local health officials.
Kweli ilitupata kidogo off guard, ndio tukaanza kurespond.
Mamo Ali, NTV, Marsabit.
It has now been roughly 2 months since the COVID-19 pandemic not only touched down in Kenya, but changed life as we've known it. So what does that life look like? What curveballs is it throwing at us, and are we ducking them or hitting home runs out of them? Anita Nkonge gets the perspective of the new normal for different people.
Thought that an invisible enemy would creep into our society and completely rearrange our world. Now we can get arrested if we don't wear a mask, which is kind of ironic. And we have to avoid being close to one another as we try to adjust to this new life. So what exactly does your new normal look like? Let's take a look.
Hello, my name is Bukambi Ntega. I am a filmmaker. So how's my life changed? Creativity was one of the creativity in the gig economy was one of the first to suffer because it's at that point that we realized that what we do requires people gathering in places. It requires one-on-one interaction, it requires one-on-one communication, and you actually have to be physically present a lot of times to do your work. I think the most significant change is how we interact with gigs now. There's so many gigs happening online now, and they have something of a very authentic feel to themselves. Same thing with what I used to do. I used to host a movie night every Monday at a club in Nairobi, and since that can't happen, what I do now is host it online. So we actually have a virtual screening room where we watch a movie every Monday night. It's called Monday Movie Nights at Home, and that has been really, really good. We have a Zoom call afterwards and people discuss the movie, and at certain times it almost feels like it's real, like you're actually hanging out with people for real.
My lady, in the matter, I'm Ms. Ngugi, on record for the defendants. Hello, my name is Lynn Ngugi, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and I do practice as such. I do also run a YouTube channel and a blog where I go by the name Miss Turu. Hello guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. But that's just my part-time. That's what I do on the weekends or when I come out from work and I'm not too tired. Now, with coronavirus, I guess one of the benefits is that you don't have to travel to work, so you don't have to sit in traffic and you don't have to be up that early. We're using Zoom, Microsoft Office, and Skype, dependent on the judge and the court you're appearing before. And the benefits of this, guys, is that you don't have to be in a crowded court in Milimani. What we are learning as a profession is that there is so much time that can be saved if we embrace technology. If we embrace that, post-COVID-19, man, life will be good because then you're able to cut down on costs, judiciary, like the judiciary will work better and be quicker, and judges will be able to deal with real issues and not have their courts crowded with mentions and all those things.
My name is Arafat Opar. I'm a personal trainer and fitness instructor.
Oh, nice one. Diana, good stuff. I love the.
I've had to adjust. I've had to do more of online sessions, one-on-one, group training.
Oh, nice one. Diana, good stuff. I love the improvement. Yeah.
What I do now, I offer free sessions, Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook, that's just a way of me giving back. I might not be a doctor, I might not be, a nurse or whatever, but I just use the gift that God gave me to just give back to society and help people to keep fit in the comfort of their home.
What do I look forward to in the new world? Being able to move around, being able to escape Nairobi. Of course, this is not entirely a waste. In living in this new world, in this strange new world, I think we're able to discover things about ourselves that we previously didn't know, and about each other, and about what matters. If anything, I think that's the thing I'm most grateful for.
It's not only a new normal, but a new unusual, one that is giving us an opportunity to learn some hard but important lessons. For example, what new things are you adopting, and how are you adapting? Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Very well done, Anita Nkonge. I found it very hard to take my eyes off the screen. What does your new normal look like? Tweet us using the @NTV Kenya handle. And with that, we take a break.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. Panadol Extra, now with new Optizorb technology, to fight multiple tough pains with 3 times more pain-relieving medicine in the first 30 minutes when you need it most. Seeing them support themselves makes any pain worth it.
If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
At Kenya Breweries Limited, we work with over 500 barley farmers in Kenya to locally source 80% of raw materials and grow local businesses to produce quality products. In the last financial year, we paid over 1 billion shillings to barley farmers. Our pride lies in uplifting the lives of farmers as we grow value together.
By the way, nilikuwa nafikiria ni mboch. Kidogo unasikia ati pia demo anataka kuimba. Demo gani? Huyo yuko hapo anaosha vyombo. Kumbe.
Ani alikuwa tu ana bring the house down yani all the time.
Like she's half naked on TV.
The things that your sister is doing is demonic. Akani block kila mahali na akachange namba yake ya simu.
Alikuwa na a presence, alikuwa na an aura of kupendwa. Sijaona mtu akiwalk away from pesa hivyo.
Wewe uko hospitali, hauwezi toka, hauwezi enda kumzika. Imagine mamako anazikwa, mama yako anazikwa. Hauwezi enda kumzika.
She never lost faith in God. And that's a big thing that kept her going.
She's a miracle.
Hey, as a professor, out of analytical observation, I have realized that there are 3 types of coughing. Kukohoa. Kuna wale wa huo ni mtu wako na pesa. Account is loaded. Kuna hawa wa
To get this Skiza tune, dial *811 *848# for Professor.
Those that are born with club foot, which is a congenital deformity, face immense stigma due to misinformation for a condition that can actually be corrected. Now, children born with this condition are ostracized, labeled bad omens, or products of witchcraft.
Growing up with clubfoot has been very tough. I never used to remove my shoes at all.
We shed light on this condition and of course bust some of those myths and also understand how you can correct this condition.
I hope you took the time, took advantage of that break to share your thoughts on the stories we've run tonight. The Twitter handle is at NTV Kenya. There is a reported rise in child abuse and domestic violence in Thika since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country. The situation has worsened due to lack of employment. Mature Children's Organization based in Thika says it is struggling to cope with the rising cases of abused children, as Nuru Abdulaziz reports.
This is Macho Children's Organization, a place where these children consider as a safe haven. Most of these children are here due to the problems they have experienced at home.
You find that a family has a husband and a wife and they are not having any source of income. The children are looking up to them, and this brings a lot of anxiety and stress. And it leads to a lot of physical violence and also emotional abuse, which trickles down to the children.
Cases of domestic violence, physical abuse, economic abuse, and psychological abuse continue to rise day after day in what experts attribute to the COVID-19 pandemic.
The fact that people are just, so many people are idle and within the community, you find the cases of defilement also happening. We get cases outside Thika, we get from Gatanga and a little bit from Murang'a and a bit of Machakos area.
According to Joan, they have sent home some of the victims they were handling when the COVID-19 lockdown started, but were forced to start rehabilitating fresh children rescued from abandonment, sexual and physical abuse attributed to people from their families.
These cases are on the rise because after the COVID, many people are not having jobs. In Thika, there are many people, especially the guardians we are working with, who depend on casual jobs.
It has been difficult for us to reach the children that we normally help. It has also been difficult because of the boundaries of Nairobi Metropolitan. And it has also become difficult because of our staff is not able to go door to door to visit people, to guide them, to encourage them, to help them.
The Rescue Center has also come up with stringent measures of ensuring safety of the children inside the center.
Ndio to protect watoto, ukitoka nje, ukirudi, juu hujulikani umekutana na kina nani, paka ukuje quarantine for 14 days. Na hii tunaona ni vizuri sana.
Nuru Abdulaziz, NTV.
The COVID-19 pandemic has seen many young people use art as a way to sensitize the community against the disease and show them what they can do to play their part and combat it. Helen Aura caught up with Sky Limit, a children's entertainment group located in Nairobi's Langata constituency, and they use their talent to create awareness and bring hope.
For our leaders, oh Father in heaven, please guide them.
Corona! What a deadly monster! You are shaking our world, shaking black and white.
Words that speak the feelings of many.
Ministers of health, women rep, and all others. Oh God in heaven, please guide them in your all decisions.
Words that articulate messages of hope in these tough times. Words of young Kenyans who are making an impact in the community.
Nikaonelea juu wako na talanta yao kama hiyo mashairi, uimbaji, kukimbia, nikaona sitawafungia. Nikaona niwaachilie watoe talanta yao. Na ninashukuru. Niko na uhakika siku moja Mungu atawaonekania.
Josephine Nyaboke, who is a teacher and youth mentor, founded the group Sky Limit in 2017, seeking to nurture young talent as she opens doors of hope for the young people despite their background of humble resources.
Wako wavulana na wasichana, lakini hii curfew wengine walifungiwa home. Wako hata huyu ni mmoja wao. Wavulana wako pia, na tulikuwa watoto pamoja walikuwa 24. Wavulana 7 na hao wengine wasichana. Age groups? As from 14 mpaka 6 years.
The group has been called upon to entertain guests at various events, but it has not always been a rosy experience.
Nikiambiwa nipeleke watoto, I don't have fare. Sina chakula ya kwenda kuwapatia. Tuliitwa huko Uhuru Park. Ilibidi nichemshe viazi tamu, niweke kwa mfuko, tuanze mguu kutoka hapa mpaka Uhuru Park. Nikiwapeleka mahali wakiperform, siku na ile kama mfuko kidogo napewa ya watoto, ninakaushwa. Ninarudi kama ninalia.
All members of this group come from low-income households, leaving some unable to continue with school due to lack of school fees. The group continues to entertain and spread their message of hope as they aspire to grow and achieve great milestones.
For our healthy workers, we know you work day and night to help our dear ones overcome this virus. May the Almighty God secure you and your family.
Helen Aura, NTV.
Well, to Nakuru County now, and dump sites are a rising concern as far as the spread of COVID-19 is concerned, as they host disposed used masks and other items. This leaves the families who live off the garbage sites exposed and therefore at great risk. The Ministry of Environment has recently advised that building owners should have specific bins for the disposal of masks to avert contamination of waste as it finds its way to the dump site. Bridget Ngana was at the Nakuru dump site and filed this report.
This is the main dump site in Nakuru town where more than 200 tons of waste is disposed daily. And also where more than 200 families eke a living as they scavenge for recyclables to sell from the waste. But since the coronavirus disease touched down in the country, even the trash that makes its way here has reduced, affecting incomes.
Ndio tuko na shida sana pamoja hapa. Kwa chini tukiangalia, kipa sinasimama, tunaangalia sarova inasimama. Tunaangalia vitu ndogo hatuoni chochote.
Their work entails a lot of contact, and without sufficient protective gear such as masks or gloves, they get to touch used disposable masks which could be contaminated.
Saa zingine labda mtoto bahati mbaya ametumwa labda mwage takataka amepatana naye. Sasa lazima ujaribu uzike ili isaidie, pengine tusikiwe tunaangamiza corona tu huko naye hapa sisi naye tunaadhirika naye. Sasa tukizipata saa zingine ule mtu mwenye ako hapo nyuma tunawaambia wamama lazima hizi vitu tujaribu kufanya nini? Kuzika ili tujaribu hata sisi kupigana na hiyo corona.
We are also causing that each and every person must be alive to these particular, dangers of infections out of COVID-19 waste, and therefore also seek to disinfect these masks and any other personal protective equipment, say like hand gloves, before disposal. It shouldn't be an individual's responsibility because we have to protect all of us.
So we're asking people at home to be smart. Please, if you have a scissor, get a scissor and make it impossible for someone to reuse, so that even as you safely dispose, what you have removed from use is not used by another person.
The new regulations by the Ministry of Environment recommend that disposable masks should be treated as biohazardous waste and should be disposed as such. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
They dreamt of a home, a dream home, and they strapped on their boots and chased their dreams by working hard and making money to sow seeds of investment in their aspirations. These investors are, however, now speaking of what has increasingly been turning into a nightmare, even in broad daylight. 4 years after they paid for the dreamy designs that should have by now been their homes, they are decrying a scheme they say is fraud. In the middle of the scandal are the same people who are at the heart of the Banda Homes debacle. Lilian Kiarie with more.
This was the dream, presented in picturesque fashion. 4 years later, this is the reality. Overgrown grass, idle construction material, and a land that whispers a narrative of neglect. In 2016, a real estate group dubbed Dinara Properties went out to sell a dream, an off-plan arrangement for 2-bedroom units at this prime land located in Ruiru, Kiambu County. The investors say that the developer signed a joint venture with the owner of this land, a woman called Salome Lenkai, who lives right at this spot, and the agreement was dubbed Dinara Lenkai Company Limited. Salome, who declined to appear on camera, says she provided the developers with her land and in return was to be compensated with some house units whose value would equate that of the price of land.
The plan was they do 3 blocks, and per each block was 18 houses, making now 54 houses in the whole area.
The 2-bedroom units ranged between 4.5 million to 5.2 million shillings, and the investors put in their money.
And committed my 1.44. According to the agreement, you are supposed to raise one. You are supposed to pay 140 per month.
I personally paid a 30% deposit and did some 3 installments to Mr. Kamau.
The agreement was that the houses would be complete within 2 years, which was in 2018. The balance after the 30% deposit was to be cleared within that time. But 2 years down the road, instead of an announcement of the project being complete, the investors say they were greeted by their dream showing signs of becoming a nightmare. They say there was a fallout between the directors of the development, Andrew Kamau and Washira Wagoko, and some of the developments had eyebrow-raising signs.
The name they used there before was Banda. Then by the time they were selling here, they were Dinara developers. Then immediately we bought, around 2017, they said now they are selling as Tahira or something. So it's like they have changed the names 3 times over a period of 3 years.
The investors say they were summoned for a meeting and informed that a new company, Tahila Holdings, was taking charge of the project. They add that Andrew Kamau, who was the then managing director, had been axed and Washira Wagoko was to steer the ship, a move they felt was a breach of the contract they had initially signed, as they had also not been consulted.
We actually said we are not going to sign that letter, and Kamau should come and talk to us and tell us what's going on. He was actually abusive.
The guy is rude like no one's business. He just started telling us the way he has a lot of money. This is nothing to him. He has billions. He drives Range Rovers. So you're wondering, if you have all that money, why not give us back our money?
We reached out to Andrew Kamau, who is at the center of this controversy. He agrees to an interview and seeks to absolve himself of any fault.
I am not a director at Dinara Lenkai Limited. Any liabilities that were there were transferred to their directors. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I have no part to play in that.
There are also some solid allegations saying that you are very rude and arrogant to them.
I will not comment on that. Okay. I will not comment on that.
I want my money back, my investment back. We want our money back.
Speaking to NTV on phone, Washira Wagoko, who was in charge, said that the money they paid in deposit is what you see as the foundation and the construction of this land. Today, 4 years after the commencement of the plan and 2 years after it was set to be complete, he adds that during the meeting I held with them in 2018, I stipulated that it is up to them to pay in full so I can complete. All who want their money back should write me a letter to declare their interest. It is only after the completion of this project that I can pay. I have not breached any agreement. They have because they do not pay.
The cat and mouse game being played by the developers has clearly taken a toll on the investors who thought that right now they would be living in their dream homes. They're now calling for prompt action so that they're able to go back to their daily lives. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Well, there's certainly a lot to mull over following that report by Lillian Kiarie. So let's take that time out with this break.
Very simple. You want to work easy, get into iBill. Tujenge na iBill.
credit to you if you stay at home. If you must shop online, use your NCBA credit card. Stay home. Stay safe.
This new pack is available in all leading supermarkets and outlets. It's still the same flour. Pembe yangu ni poa.
Ninakungoja Yesu, ninakungoja.
I was thinking today, I'm going to stick with the empty tomb, and I want to make a big deal out of that. And I know for most of us evangelical Christians, we are very familiar and very comfortable with the space of the cross and the death of Christ. But we don't think too much about the resurrection. And yet, if Christ had died and remained dead, there would be nothing for us to celebrate.
Nitakungoja Yesu, nitakungoja, nitakungoja, nitakungoja.
Hey, as a professor, out of analytical observation, I have realized that there are 3 types of coughing. Kukohoa. Kuna wale wa huo ni mtu wako na pesa. Account is loaded. Kuna hawa wa
To get this Skiza tune, dial *811 *848# for Professor.
Welcome back. Time for sports news now. Athletes from the country who in previous years depended on Kamarin Stadium for their training have been forced to look for alternative training solutions following its stalled construction. But there is potentially light at the end of the tunnel because, as Lois Wangui reports, the government has now given yet another promise of completing the project in about 6 months.
Kamarin Stadium sits at high altitude, about 2 kilometers from its town, the home of champions. Its told renovation has been to the detriment of thousands of local athletes, with the effect being felt internationally.
We have really been longing and that we might reclaim back the 10,000 and the 5,000 meter event. This one cannot happen if the athletes cannot get the proper training stadiums.
The government's promise of upgrading the Kamarin Stadium to IAAF standard began in 2017. 3 years later, the project is not even halfway, yet the government keeps adding unto its promises.
Yesterday, I was in communication with the Director General, Sports Kenya. So we talked and he told me the contractor was supposed to be on site. So once the contractor comes, depending on the speed and all factors held constant, in the next 4 months, it will be up and running.
Athletes have been forced to look for alternative training grounds, which come at a cost. Junior and upcoming athletes are the most affected since they can't afford private training facilities.
Wakimbiaji more than 3,000 wamekosa mahali pa kutrain. So ni wengi wanaenda Tambaji na mwisho wanaanza kuacha kutrain wengine.
The cost of the broken Kamarin Stadium promise is not only shattering dreams but also dimming glory for Kenya.
We really also predicting a very big danger next year in the Olympics, given the fact that if we don't get this training in time, these training facilities in time, we might end up losing the medals.
Na unajua uwanja wa Kamarin ni uwanja ambaye kwa kusema kweli ilikuwa inabeba wanariadha wengi. Kwa hivyo ningeomba serikali kuu na serikali ya county waweze kutuharakishia hii uwanja.
With the Jubilee government administration entering into its sunset years, the poor state of stadia in the country is one which continues to be an ugly stain. Lois Wangui, NTV Sports, in the county of Elgeyo Marakwet.
The county government of Elgeyo Marakwet has appealed to well-wishers to help mobilize funds for food aid packages to be distributed to vulnerable athletes in the county. This appeal was made by the County Executive Committee member for Sports and Culture, Anita Kimuntan, during a food donation exercise to vulnerable athletes in the county. The exercise benefited 157 athletes who got food aid from the County Athletics Kenya branch and the county's business community and individual well-wishers. A majority of those who received help were junior and upcoming athletes who mostly depend on local races.
There are some athletes whose earnings actually have been adversely affected because there are no more local races that they can participate in, which gives them an income. So together with the coaches, they profiled the athletes who are going through hard times and talked to all the stakeholders, and that's why we are here today. We came together, purchased food items, and distributed them to the athletes.
Wanariadha wengi bado wako na shida. Tumeweza kuwatia wachache, lakini huko ndani wako wengi. Wako karibu 100 and something tumewacha. So ningeomba watu wenye wataweza kutufadhili so that to make sure that wale tulikuwa tumeandika tuwe tumepatia chakula.
The Kenyan rugby fraternity is mourning following the death of former national sevens rugby team player Alan Makaka in a road accident along Mombasa Road last night. Makaka has been eulogized as a lightning-quick speedster on the pitch who was difficult to defend against when in possession and in space. He made a total of 57 appearances on the Sevens World Series, managing 28 tries, and is ranked 21st overall among Kenya's all-time try scorers on the World Series. He did duty for Kenya at the 2005 Rugby World Cup Sevens in Hong Kong and the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, Australia. At the club level, Makaka played for the now defunct Ulinzi RFC as well as Kenya Harlequins. At the time of his death, he worked at Royal Media Services. May he rest in peace. Rugby union is the version of rugby that is well known in the country. However, rugby league, a version of rugby that has roots in the United Kingdom and which is the original of professional rugby, is set to grow in Kenya with the formation of a league. This is one of the key planks of the reign of the Edward Rombo, who has been appointed the first ever Kenya Rugby League national team coach. Rombo was the first Kenyan to play professional rugby in the 1980s.
So in Kenya, we've never had rugby league because clearly it was not played in schools, it was not played anywhere. Even I had to go and play it abroad. I couldn't play it here. I had to learn, from scratch when I went abroad. So we are starting or trying to start rugby league in Kenya. Now there's a version of rugby which is known as rugby league. And that is a game that is slightly different from rugby union. The rules are slightly different. It's played by 13 players rather than 15 players in rugby union. The rules are more like a mixture of American football and rugby union. Points are a little different. Rugby league, a try is 4 points. Rugby union, a try is 5 points. Rugby league, a penalty is 2 points, whereas in rugby union, a penalty is 3 points. In rugby union, a drop goal is 3 points. Rugby league is 1 point. We've set up clubs. I think there are 6 clubs now in Nairobi and the environs. I think 1 in Kisii, 1 in Kisumu. So what we're trying to do now is set up clubs, because it's a requirement even under the Rugby League for International Rugby League Federation. With an MOU with KRU, we expect no problems with them. They understand our position. We're just simply trying to play another version of the sport to give the players and Kenyans an opportunity to play more sports, which cannot be a bad thing. And I don't see a problem where a player can play both rugby union and rugby league, because now you can do that.
Paderborn's relegation fight continued with a 1-1 draw with visiting Hoffenheim in one of the March Day 27 Bundesliga games, which was aired on NTV. Danish international Robert Skov netted for the visitors after just 4 minutes.